Rich. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srimad-Bhagavatam. I wanted to share with you all, welcome to all the devotees out there in Cyberland. I wanted to share with you one thing that I just heard from Gopi Paranadana Prabhu, who was one of my best friends in my life, who passed away many years ago by great loss to the world. He was a senior Sanskritist. He finished the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the part that Srila Prabhupada didn't finish, and translated and commented upon. Translated the commentary and the verses of the Briya Bhagavatam, which is the first time that's ever been done before in the history of the world. So he was really, really special. So I was listening to him give a lecture today, and he was saying how the taste for hearing about Krishna is the most valuable thing you can have, that you can get in this world. So if somehow or other you can get this taste, and those of you who are coming every day, especially the regulars who are coming every day, this is how you get the taste, is to hear regularly, and hearing regularly. Hey, Hare Krishna. Hello, everybody.
Here is delicious food. Where would you like me to set it?
You can set it over there in the corner. Thanks very much. We're just giving our little introductions to the cyberspace persons. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks.
Well,
thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. That's
You-
really nice now.
Now you're coming and going?
I was delivering goodness. And then I'm going.
You can deliver goodness and sit down and get a little, sit down and a little pure goodness.
Pardon?
Transcendental goodness. All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Haribol. So, yeah, it's extremely valuable, because if you can get a taste for hearing about spiritual forms and spiritual activities and spiritual sentiments, then you will have the most valuable thing, because that's something you can take with you. And you can't take anything else with you. You can't take your money, you can't take your cars, you can't take your buildings, you can't take your friends, you can't take your family, you can't take your country, you can't take anything. This you can take with you. The holy name of Krishna and the thoughts of the transcendental world, the spiritual world. So congratulations to all of you and all of you out there in cyberspace. We've reached the 7th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is really Prahlad Maharaj and other transcendental subjects, Nishingadev. So let us get to it. Sanatana Goswami's prayer to the Srimad-Bhagavatam to help us understand why the taste for hearing this literature, this sound, is the most valuable thing. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Madbhagya Madananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin adini chochatakada anamun shagadashin mam prem narit kandayotspurda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So in this first chapter we're hearing about how it is that the Lord is not partial, although he appears to be. Starting with text 9, chapter 1. The all-pervading personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being. And an expert thinker can perceive how he is present there to a large or small extent. Just as one can understand the supply of fire and wood, the water in the water pot, or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or a demigod by understanding that living entity's devotional performances. A thoughtful man can understand how much a person is favored by the Lord by seeing his actions. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 10:41, the Lord says, Yad yad vibhuti matsatvam Srimad urjitam eva va tat tat eva vagachatvam mamate jongshasambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. We have the practical experience of seeing that one person is able to do very wonderful things, whereas another cannot do those same things, and cannot even do things that require only a little common sense. Therefore, how much a devotee has been favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be tested by the activities of the devotee has performed. In Bhagavad Gita 10:10, the Lord also says, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is very practical. A teacher instructs the student if the student is capable of taking more and more instructions. Otherwise, in spite of being instructed by the teacher, the student cannot make strides in his understanding. This has nothing to do with partiality. When Krishna says, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam, this indicates that Krishna is prepared to give bhakti yoga to everyone, but one must be capable of receiving it. That is the secret. Thus, when a person exhibits wonderful devotional activities, a thoughtful man understands that Krishna has been more favorable to this devotee. This is not difficult to understand, but envious persons who do not accept that Krishna has bestowed his favor upon a particular devotee in accordance with his advanced position. Such foolish persons become envious and try to minimize an advanced devotee's activities. That is not Vaishnavism. A Vaishnava should appreciate the service rendered to the Lord by other Vaishnavas. Therefore, a Vaishnava is described in Srimad-Bhagavatam as Nirmatsara. Vaishnavas are never envious of other Vaishnavas or of anyone else, and therefore they are called Nirmatsaranam Satam. As Bhagavad Gita informs us, one can understand how one is saturated with Sattva-gun, Rajagun, or Tamagun. In the examples given herewith, fire represents the mode of goodness. One can understand the constitution of a container for wood, petrol, or other inflammable substances by the quantity of the fire. Similarly, water represents Rajaguna, the mode of passion. A small skin and the vast Atlantic Ocean both contain water, but by seeing the quantity of water in a container, one can understand the size of the container. The sky represents the mode of ignorance. The sky is present in a small earthen pot and also in outer space. Thus, by proper judgment, one can see who is a devata or demigod and who is an asura, yaksha or rakshasa, according to the quantities of sattvaguna, rajaguna, and tamaguna. One cannot judge whether a person is a devata or asura or a rakshasa by seeing him, but a sane man can understand this by the activities of such a person performs. A general description is given in the Padma Purana. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva Asuras Tad Viparya Yaha. A devotee of Lord Vishnu is a demigod, whereas an asura or yaksha is just the opposite. An asura is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Instead, for his sense gratification, he is a devotee of the demigods, bhutas, pretas, and so on. Thus one can judge who is a devata, who is a rakshasa, and who is an asura by how they conduct their activities. The word atmanam in this verse means paramatmanam. The paramatma or super soul is situated in the core of everyone's heart, antatak. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 1861. Ishvara sarvabhutanam ridjashir janatishtati. The Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, gives directions to everyone in terms of one's capabilities in taking the instructions. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita are open to everyone, but some people understand them properly, whereas others understand them so improperly that they cannot even believe in the existence of Krishna, although reading Krishna's book. Although the Gita says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, indicating that Krishna spoke, they cannot understand Krishna. This is due to their misfortune or incapability, which is caused by Rajaguna and Tamaguna, the modes of passion and ignorance. It is because of these modes that they cannot even understand Krishna, whereas an advanced devotee like Arjuna understands him and glorifies him, saying, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. You are the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Abode and Purifier. Krishna is open to everyone, but one needs the capability to understand him. By external features, one can understand who is favored by Krishna and who is not. According to one's attitude, Krishna becomes one's direct advisor, or Krishna becomes unknown. This is not Krishna's partiality. It is his response to one's ability to understand him. According to one's receptiveness, whether one be a devata, asura, raksha, yaksha, rakshasa, Krishna's quality is proportionately exhibited. This proportionate exhibition of Krishna's power is misunderstood by less intelligent men to be Krishna's partiality. But actually it is no such thing. Krishna is equal to everyone, and according to one's ability to receive the favor of Krishna, one advances in Krishna consciousness. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a practical example in this connection. In the sky, there are many luminaries. At night, even in darkness, the moon is extremely brilliant and can be directly perceived. The sun is also extremely brilliant. When covered by clouds, however, these luminaries are not distinctly visible. Similarly, the more one advances in sattva guna, the more his brilliance is exhibited by devotional service. But the more one is covered by rajaguna and tamaguna, the less visible his brilliance, for he is covered by these qualities. The visibility of one's qualities does not depend on the partiality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is due to various coverings in different proportions. Thus, one can understand how far he is advanced in terms of sattva guna and how much he is covered by rajaguna and tamaguna. Text 10. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates different types of bodies, offering a particular body to each living entity according to his character and fruitive actions, the Lord revives all the qualities of material nature, sattva-guna, rajaguna, and tamaguna. Then, as the Supersoul, he enters each body and influences the qualities of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, using sattva-guna for maintenance, rajaguna for creation, and tamaguna for annihilation. Purport. Although material nature is conducted by the three qualities, sattva-guna, rajaguna, and tamaguna, nature is not independent. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Maya dyakshina prakriti suyate sachadachadam hetunani nakonteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. The different changes in the material world take place as actions and reactions of the three gunas, but above the three gunas is their director, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the various types of bodies given to the living entities by material nature, yantra, rudani, mayaya, either sattva-guna, rajaguna, or tamaguna, is prominent. The body is produced by material nature, according to the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore it is said here, yada sisrikshu puda atmanak para. Indicating that the body is certainly created by the Lord. Karmana daiva netrena. According to the karma of the living entity, a body is prepared under the Supreme Lord's supervision. Whether the body is of sattva-guna, rajaguna, or tamaguna, everything is done by the direction of the Supreme Lord through the agency of the external energy, pritak somayaya. In this way, in different types of bodies, the Lord, Ishvara, gives directions as Paramatma, and again, to destroy the body, he employs the tamaguna. This is the way the living entities receive different types of bodies. Text 11. O great King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of the material and spiritual energies, who is certainly the creator of the entire cosmos, creates the time factor to allow the material energy and living entity to act within the limits of time. Thus, the Supreme Personality is never under the time factor, nor under the material energy. Purport. One should not think that the Lord is dependent on the time factor. He actually creates the situation by which material nature acts, and by which the conditioned soul is placed under material nature. Both the conditioned soul and the material nature act within the time factor, but the Lord is not subject to the actions and reactions of time, for time has been created by Him. To be more clear, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says that creation, maintenance, and annihilation are all under the supreme will of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 4:7, the Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatpanam shrijamyaham. Whenever and wherever, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Since Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the controller of everything, when he appears, he is not within the limitations of material time. Janma karma, chame dibyam. In this verse, the words kalam, chadantam, srijatisha ashrayam indicate that although the Lord acts within time, whether sattvaguna, rajaguna, or tamaguna is prominent, one should not think that the Lord is under time's control. Time is within his control, for he creates time to act in a certain way. He is not working under the control of time. The creation of the material world is one of the Lord's pastimes. Everything is fully under his control. Since creation takes place when Rajaguna is prominent, the Lord creates the necessary time to give facilities for Rajaguna. Similarly, he also creates the necessary times for maintenance and annihilation. Thus, this verse establishes that the Lord is not under the limitations of time. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller, Satchidananda Vigraha. He possesses a beautiful spiritual body. Anadi, he is not subordinate to anything. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad Gita 7:7, Mattak Paratanam Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Nothing can be above Krishna, for he is the controller and creator of everything. The Mayavadi philosophers say that this material world is mithya, false, and that one should therefore not bother about this mithya, creation. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. But this is not correct. Here it is said, Satyakrit, whatever is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satyam Padam, cannot be called Mithya. The cause of the creation is Satya, true. So how can the effect of the cause be Mithya? The very word Satyakrit is used to establish that everything created by the Lord is factual, never false. The creation may be temporary, but it is not false. 12. O King, this time factor enhances the sattva guna. Thus, although the Supreme Lord is the controller, he favors the demigods who are mostly situated in sattva guna. Then the demons who are influenced by tamoguna are annihilated. The Supreme Lord induces the time factor to act in different ways, but he is never partial. Rather, his activities are glorious, and therefore he is called Urushrava. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be partial. He is always equal to everyone. Therefore, when the demigods are favored and the demons killed, this is not his partiality, but the influence of the time factor. A good example in this regard is that an electrician connects both a heater and a cooler to the same electrical energy. The cause of the heating and cooling is the electrician's manipulation of the electrical energy according to his desire. But factually, the electrician has nothing to do with causing heat or cold, nor with the enjoyment or suffering that results. There have been many historical incidents in which the Lord killed a demon, but the demon attained a higher position by the mercy of the Lord. Putana is an example. Putana's purpose was to kill Krishna. Aho Bhakiyam Stanakala Kutam. She approached the house of Nanda Maharaj with the purpose of killing Krishna by smearing poison on her breast. And when she was killed, she attained the highest position, achieving the status of Krishna's mother. Krishna is so kind and impartial that because he sucked Putana's breast, he immediately accepted her as his mother. This superfluous activity of killing Putana did not diminish the Lord's impartiality. He is Suridam, Sarvabhutanam, the friend of everyone. Therefore, partiality cannot apply to the character of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always maintains his position as the Supreme Controller. The Lord killed Putana as an enemy, but because of his being the Supreme Controller, she attained an exalted position as his mother. Srila Madhva Muni therefore remarks, Kale Kala Vishaya Pishita Dihadi Karnanatvat Suranikam Ivastitam Satvam. Ordinarily, a murderer is hanged, and in the Manu Samhita it is said that a king bestows mercy upon a murderer by killing him, thus saving him from various kinds of suffering. Because of his sinful activities, such a murderer is killed by the mercy of the king. Krishna, the supreme judge, deals with matters in a similar way because he is the supreme controller. The conclusion, therefore, is that the Lord is always impartial and always very kind to all living entities. Text 13. Formerly, O king, when Maharaj Yudhishthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, the great sage Narada, responding to his inquiry, recited historical facts showing how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always impartial, even when killing demons. In this regard, he gave a vivid example. Purport. This relates to how the Lord exhibited his impartiality even when killing Shishupal in the arena of the Rajasuya Yajna performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. Text 14, 15. O king, at the Rajasuya sacrifice, Maharaj Yudhishthira, the son of Maharaj Pandu, personally saw Shishupal merge into the body of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Therefore, struck with wonder, he inquired about the reason for this from the great sage Narada, who was seated there. While he inquired, all the sages present heard him ask his questions. Text 16. Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired, It is very wonderful that the demon Shishupal merged into the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though extremely envious. This Sayuja Mukti is impossible to attain, even for great transcendentalists. How then did the enemy of the Lord attain it? Purport. There are two classes of transcendentalists, the Jnanis and the Bhaktas. The Bhaktas do not aspire to merge into the existence of the Lord, but the Jnanis do. Shishupal, however, was neither a Jnani nor a Bhakta, yet simply by envy of the Lord he attained an exalted position by merging into the Lord's body. Certainly this was astonishing, and therefore Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired about the cause for the Lord's mysterious mercy to Shishupal. 17. O great sage, we are all eager to know the cause for this mercy of the Lord. I have heard that formerly a king named Vena blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that all the Brahmanas consequently obliged him to go to hell. Shishupal also should have been sent to hell. How then did he merge into the Lord's existence? Text 18. From the very beginning of his childhood, when he could not even speak properly, Shishupal, the most sinful son of Dhammaghosha, began blaspheming the Lord, and he continued to be envious of Sri Krishna until death. Similarly, his brother Dantavakra continued the same habits. Text 19. Although these two men, Shishupal and Dantavakra, repeatedly blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, they were quite healthy. Indeed, their tongues were not attacked by white leprosy, nor did they enter the darkest region of hellish life. We are certainly most surprised by this. Purport. Krishna is described by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 10:12 as follows: Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Abode and Purifier. Herein is confirmed Vishnum Yad Brahmapadam Abhyayam. The Supreme Vishnu is Krishna. Krishna is the cause of Vishnu, not vice versa. Similarly, Brahman is not the cause of Krishna. Krishna is the cause of Brahman. Therefore, Krishna is the Parabrahman. Yad Brahma Param Avyayam. Text 20. How is it possible for Shishupal and Dantavakra, in the presence of many exalted persons, to enter very easily into the body of Krishna, whose nature is difficult to attain? Purport. Shishupal and Dantavakra were formerly Jai and Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha. Merging into the body of Krishna was not their final destination. For some time they remained merged, and later they received the liberations of Sarupya and Salokya, living on the same planet as the Lord in the same bodily form. The Shastras give evidence that if one blasphemes the Supreme Lord, his punishment is to remain in hellish life for many millions of years, more than one suffers by killing many Brahmanas. Shishupal, however, instead of entering hellish life, immediately and very easily receives Sayuja Mukti. That such a privilege had been offered to Shishupal was not merely a story. Everyone saw it happen. There was no scarcity of evidence. How did it happen? Maharaj Yudhishthira was very much surprised. Text 21. This matter is undoubtedly very wonderful. Indeed, my intelligence has become disturbed, just as the flame of a candle is disturbed by a blowing wind. O Narada Muni, you know everything. Kindly let me know the cause of this wonderful event. Purport. The Shastras enjoin Tad Vijnanartam Sagurum Ibabigach Chet. When one is perplexed by the difficult problems of life, to solve them, one must approach a guru, like Narada, or his representative in the disciplic succession. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore requested Narada to explain the cause for such a wonderful event. Text 22. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, after hearing the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira, Narada Muni, the most powerful spiritual master, who knew everything, was very pleased. Thus he replied in the presence of everyone taking part in the yajna. Text 23. The great sage, Sri Narada, said, O king, blasphemy and praise, chastisement and respect are experienced because of ignorance. The body of the conditioned soul is planned by the Lord for suffering in the material world through the agency of the external energy. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 1861 it is said, Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddhisharjanatishthati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. The material body is manufactured by the external energy according to the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned soul, being seated in this machine, wanders throughout the universe, and because of his bodily conception of life, he only suffers. Actually, the suffering of being blasphemed and the enjoyment of being praised, the acceptance of a good welcome or of chastisement by harsh words are felt in the material conception of life. But since the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not material, but Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, he is unaffected by insults or greetings, blasphemy or prayers. Being always unaffected and complete, he does not feel pleasure, extra pleasure, when offered nice prayers by the devotee, although the devotee benefits by offering prayers to the Lord. Indeed, the Lord is very kind to his so-called enemy, because one who always thinks of the personality of Godhead as an enemy also benefits, although he thinks of the Lord adversely. If a conditioned soul, thinking of the Lord as an enemy or a friend, somehow or other becomes attached to the Lord, he receives great benefit. Text 24. My dear King, the conditioned soul, being in the bodily conception of life, considers his body to be a self, and considers everything in relationship with the body to be his. Because he has this wrong conception of life, he is subjected to dualities like praise and chastisement. Purport. Only when a conditioned soul accepts the body as himself does he feel the effects of chastisement or praise. When he determines one person to be his enemy and another his friend, and wants to chastise the enemy and welcome the friends, this creation of friends and enemies is the result of one's bodily conception of life. 25. Because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Controller, the Super Soul of all living beings, all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus he has no enemy and no friend. When he chastises the demons, it is for their good. And when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is for their good. He is affected neither by prayers nor by blasphemy. Purport. Because of being covered by material bodies, the conditioned souls, including even greatly learned scholars and falsely educated professors, all think that as soon as the body is finished, everything is finished. This is due to their bodily conception of life. Krishna has no such bodily conception, nor is his body different from himself. Therefore, since Krishna has no material conception of life, how can he be affected by material prayers and accusations? Krishna's body is described herewith as kaivalya, non-different from himself. Since everyone has a material bodily conception of life, if Krishna had such a conception, what would be the difference between Krishna and the conditioned soul? Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita are accepted as final because he does not possess a material body. As soon as one has a material body, he has 4 deficiencies. But since Krishna does not possess a material body, he has no deficiencies. He was always spiritually conscious and blissful. Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, blissful, knowledge. Satchidananda Vigraha, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, and Kaivalya are the same. Krishna can expand himself as Paramatma in the core of everyone's heart. In Bhagavad Gita 13.3, this is confirmed. Chetra gyam chapimam vidhi sarva chetreshu bharata. The Lord is the Paramatma, the Atma or Super Self of all individual souls. Therefore, it must naturally be concluded that he has no defective bodily conceptions. Although situated in everyone's body, he has no bodily conception of life. He is always free from such conceptions, and thus he cannot be affected by anything in relation to the material body of the jiva. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 16:19, Tan aham dvishatak kruran samsareshu naradamam chipam yajashram ashubhan asuri shresha jonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Whenever the Lord punishes persons like demons, however, such punishment is meant for the good of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, being envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may accuse him, saying, Krishna is bad, Krishna is a thief, and so on. But Krishna, being kind to all living entities, does not consider such accusations. Instead, he takes account of the conditioned soul's chanting of Krishna, Krishna. So he takes account so many times. Prabhupada would sometimes get 2 articles presented to him. Once when he was in Chicago, there was one article that came in that was extremely negative, and the other one came in that was supremely glowing and positive. So Prabhupada looked at both of them, and he started counting the number of times the article had Krishna written in it. And he looked at the one that was negative, and it had Krishna every other word. And Krishna, he took this word, this one is very good. This one's better than this one, because it had more names of Krishna in it. He sometimes punishes such demons for one life by putting them in a lower species, but then, when they have stopped accusing him, they are liberated in the next life because of chanting Krishna's name constantly. Blaspheming the Supreme Lord or his devotee is not at all good for the conditioned soul, but Krishna, being very kind, punishes the conditioned soul in one life for such sinful activities, and then takes him back home, back to Godhead. Haribol. The vivid example of this is Vritrasura, who was formerly Chitraketu Maharaj, a great devotee. Because he derided Lord Shiva, the foremost of all devotees, he had to accept the body of a demon called Vritra, but then he was taken back to Godhead. Thus, when Krishna punishes a demon or conditioned soul, he stops that soul's habit of blaspheming him, and when the soul becomes completely pure, the Lord takes him back to Godhead. Text 26. Therefore, by enmity, or by devotional service, by fear, by affection, or by lusty desire, by all these, or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same. For the Lord, because of his blissful position, is never affected by enmity or friendship. Purport. From this verse one should conclude that because Krishna is unaffected by favorable prayers or unfavorable blasphemy, one should therefore blaspheme the Supreme Lord. This is not the regulated principle. Bhakti Yoga means anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. One should serve Krishna very favorably. This is the real injunction. Here it is said that although an enemy thinks of Krishna unfavorably, the Lord is unaffected by such anti-devotional service. Thus he offers his benedictions even to Shishupal, or similarly inimical conditioned souls. This does not mean, however, that one should be inimical toward the Lord. The stress is given to the favorable execution of devotional service, not purposeful blasphemy of the Lord. It is said in Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:74-40, Nindam Bhagavatak Shrinbanj Tat Parasya Janasya Va Tato Na Paiti Yaksopi Yat Yadak Sukritach Chutaha. One who hears blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees should immediately take action or should leave. Otherwise he will be put into hellish life perpetually. There are many such injunctions. Therefore, as a regulated principle, one should not be unfavorable toward the Lord, but always favorably inclined toward him. Shishupal's achievement of oneness with the Supreme Lord was different because Jai and Vijay, from the very beginning of their material existence, were ordained to treat the Supreme Lord as an enemy for 3 lives and then return home back to Godhead. Jai and Vijay inwardly knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they purposely became his enemies to be delivered from material life. From the very beginning of their lives, they thought of Krishna as an enemy, and even though blaspheming Lord Krishna, they chanted the holy name of Krishna constantly, along with their inimical thoughts. He tricked them. Thus, they were purified because of chanting the holy name of Krishna. It is to be understood that even a blasphemer can be freed from sinful reactions by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Certainly, therefore, freedom is assured for a devotee who is always favorable to the service of the Lord. This will be clear from the following verse. By rapt attention fixed upon Krishna, one is purified, and thus one is delivered from material life. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur has very nicely explained the word bhayena, which means by fear. When the gopis went to Krishna in the dead of night, they certainly feared chastisement by their relatives, their husbands, brothers, and fathers. But nonetheless, not caring for their relatives, they went to Krishna. There was certainly fear, but this fear could not check their devotional service to Krishna. One should not mistakenly think that Lord Krishna must be worshipped by an inimical attitude like that of Shishupal. The injunction is anukulyasya grahanam, pratikulyasya varjanam. One should give up unfavorable activities and accept only favorable conditions in devotional service. Certainly, if one blasphemes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is punished. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 16:9, Tan aham dvishatak kruran sangsareshwa naradamam chipam yajashram ashubhan asuri shvesh yoneshu. There are many such injunctions. One should not try to worship Krishna unfavorably. Otherwise, he must be punished, at least for one life, to be purified. As one should not try to be killed by embracing an enemy, a tiger, or a snake. One should not blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead and become his enemy in order to be put into hellish life. The purpose of this verse is to emphasize that even the enemy of the Lord can be delivered, not to speak of his friend. Srila Madhvacharya also says in many ways that one should not blaspheme Lord Vishnu through one's mind, words, or actions, for a blasphemer will go to hellish life along with his forefathers. Karmana manasabhacha yodvishyad vishnumabhyayam majanti pitarastasya narake shasvati samaha. In Bhagavad Gita 16, 19 and 20 the Lord says, Tan aham dvishatak kruran samsareshu naradaman chipamya jashram asubam asurishveva jonishu asurim yonim apana mudhad janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tato yanjadamam gatim. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth among the species of demoniac life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. One who blasphemes the Lord is put into a family of asuras, in which there is every chance of forgetting the service of the Lord. Lord Krishna further states in Bhagavad Gita 9:11 and 12, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanamasritam padam bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Mudhas, rascals, blaspheme the Supreme Lord because he appears exactly like a human being. They do not know the unlimited opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mogasha, moga karmano, moga jnana vichechasaha, rakshasim asurim chaiva, prakritim mohinim shritaha. Anything done by those who have taken the attitude of enemies will be baffled. Mogasha. If these enemies try to be liberated or to merge into the existence of Brahman, if they desire to be elevated to the higher planetary systems as karmis, or even they desire to return home, back to Godhead, they will certainly be baffled. As for Hiranyakashipu, although he was extremely inimical toward the personality of God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he always thought of his son, who was a great devotee. Therefore, by the grace of his son, Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu also was also delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Hiranyakashipus chapi Bhagavan nindayata maha vibhakshur atyagat suno praladasyanubhavataha. The conclusion is that one should not give up pure devotional service. For one's own benefit, one should not imitate Hiranyakashipu or Shishupal. This is not the way to achieve success. Hare Krishna. Cheers. Okay, we'll stop there for tonight. Question? Realization? Reflection? Oh, all right. Okay, it's the open mic time.
It says that we shouldn't try and imitate Hiranyakashipu or Shishupal. It says we shouldn't try and imitate Hiranyakashipu or Shishupal. But then Jagai and Madai came, and the Lord was getting ready to kill one of them, Jagai, I believe, and Nityananda stops him and says that if we kill him, we have to kill them all, because everybody in this world now are. I'm just trying to understand that a little bit. Could you?
Well, Jai and Vijay came back after they were liberated in the form of Shishupal and Dantavakra in the Dwapara Yuga. They came back in the Kali Yuga as Jagai and Madai. So this was Jai and Vijay. They had already been purified to the point they were eligible to get Krishna Prema, pure Krishna love for Krishna. That's how they got their final qualification to go actually back to the spiritual world and resume their loving service, personal loving service to the Lord. Yes, Prana.
In text 9, it was saying how how much a devotee has been favored by the Supreme Personality of God, it can be tested by the activities the devotee has performed. And then again, it stated that basically we can tell how when a person exhibits wonderful devotional activities, a thoughtful man understands that Krishna has been more favorable to this devotee. And I guess my question is, somehow or other, I have this conception that it's not the external activities that makes a devotee, that's a symptomatic of a devotee's advancement. Like there's some sort of reference to that effect, is it not? That, the externals, there were so many devotees who did amazing external things, but then they fell away. It was somehow shown that, it was kind of like the shooting star analogy.
Well, that means they haven't. That means they made some mistake. Even if you approach properly, if you make a mistake, you can fall away. Anybody. The soul has independence. It's minute, but he never loses that minute independence, even within the spiritual world. So that's what Krishna wants. He wants the voluntary, loving service. That's what he wants. That's why he won't give Krishna Prema to the demons that come, generally, unless they're very special cases. There are very special cases. Krishna will do that. Only Krishna will do that. Will give Krishna Prema, like Putana is the example. But so it isn't the external thing. It's the exchange. It's the impartial favor of the Lord, because somehow or other the person's approaching him, and according to his nature, he reciprocates. We talked about this yesterday. He basically the same point, basically, that he reciprocates in kind to how a soul approaches him. That's the whole point of the thing. It's not partiality. The modes of nature cause the soul to do these things. Envy and these things are caused by the mode of nature. But because if they become very specially situated enough so that they can be with Krishna, in Krishna's presence, and approach him, even if that, envy is there, or that desire, in the case of Putana, the desire to kill him is there, then Krishna just, by mercy stops the sinful activity, and at the same time purifies by the touch of his own personal self. And then the person becomes purified and goes back to Godhead. Yes. Prana's going to give a follow-up. He's going to take us further. Prana Hari.
I mean, I'm just thinking like, in previous decades, there's been gurus who have done amazing feats for spreading Krishna consciousness and taken many disciples, and then somehow or other they've fallen away. And so one might have observed that, wow, I want this person to be my guru, because of they've analyzed how they're spreading Krishna consciousness and how they can give a class, and they think that he's so fixed, he's so pure devotee. And then later on they fell away, and then the disciples bewildered. So when Prabhupada's writing that one can tell how advanced the devotee is based on their
activities.
Yeah, the extraordinary activities, how much they're favored by Krishna. I mean, what I heard you just say, Maharaj, was that it could, in that moment, they could have been a pure devotee. They were surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna reciprocated in kind. But then we always have free will, and we can choose. Is that how we understand it?
Yeah, that's true. They'll never be forgotten. We're thinking in terms of time and space. I think there's a question coming up about time and space. This is a very interesting topic, actually. We're thinking in terms of time and space. And then we're thinking that, they did this service and then they fell down. But a person who has actually done devotional service never falls down. Not in the same way that an ordinary person falls down. Krishna makes an arrangement for them to, get, duly punished, maybe in one life or whatever. We heard this in the purport, and then he takes them back to the next life. I mean, even in Vrindavan, if a person's foolish enough to fool around with, and break the principles in Vrindavan, then he'll get a birth in a monkey in Vrindavan, and he'll go back in the next life by the purifying nature of being in Vrindavan as an animal. So it's not that you can analyze it according to material laws and material conceptions. Lord can do whatever he wants, That's the inconceivable potency of Lord. He can do whatever he likes. And because we're envious of him, we don't like that there's somebody that can do whatever he likes. And we're under that person's jurisdiction. That's where the Mayavadi philosophy comes from. They don't want to have any jurisdiction, because that'll allow them to do whatever they want. No responsibility, no rules. But we have, is that something? Yeah. Then we have, this is a very interesting question. What was it?
Vilas Manjari says, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. It is difficult to understand existence without the time factor, because everything in our experience has a beginning, middle, and end. Could you speak a little about time, or the absence of time, in the spiritual realm? How is this experienced?
Well, time is an impersonal feature of Krishna, aspect of Krishna, meaning unmanifest, meaning you can't see it, that enters into each atom of the universe. And it's by the presence of Krishna within each atom of the universe that they are attracted and pulled apart and come together to make all these forms according to the reactions and actions and reactions of what they do in the material world. And Krishna is also seated in the heart personally as a super soul to sanction it all. So that means that the forms change, over time by the influence of material time, but in conjunction with the material energy, with the modes of material energy. But in the spiritual world, there's no material energy. In the spiritual world, instead of there being goodness, passion, and ignorance, there's Sat, Chit, and Ananda. The three energies, the Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, is made up of those three energies, constituted of those three energies. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So Sat means eternity, Chit means knowledge, and Ananda means bliss or pure pleasure. So all the forms in the spiritual world are made of Sat, Chit, Ananda. The same substance that Krishna's form is made of. So therefore there's no need of time. There's no need to push the forms to change. There's no need of that in the spiritual world, because the forms naturally do what they're supposed to do, full of knowledge and pleasure, not instinctively exactly, but they just know what to do because it's full of love. It's love that makes the forms. Even the materialists write songs about it. It's love makes the world go round. It's a perfect reflection of what's going on in the spiritual world, and it looks like it. In the material world, it looks like love. Sometimes it even feels like love, but it's not, because you have to go and you have to be separated from those forms and those things and those persons and whatever. Sooner or later, sure as death. So now how does that play out in terms of what things are like in the spiritual world? It means that there's activities and there's relationships and there's loving exchanges and there's abodes and there's activities and everything. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. There's a sense of regularity. But the difference is that all of those things are going on by the force of love for Krishna. Because every form in the spiritual world is made of Satchit and it's fully conscious. The trees, the birds, the animals, the bodies of water, the everything is Satchit and it's all fully conscious. And because some souls like to have that service of just providing facilities for Krishna and the human-like forms in the spiritual world, they get full Krishna pleasure from that. It's not that they get less pleasure from being, a seemingly inanimate object. They're not inanimate. There's no inanimate objects. One of the other features of lack of time in the spiritual world is when you come in contact with Krishna, or any of the residents, or any activity, or any place, it's like you're coming in contact with for the first time. Like in the material world, when you go sightseeing, after you've visited one place for 2 or 3 times, I've seen that place. You go to another place, I've seen that one. And you just keep moving. But in spiritual life, in spiritual world, you go to one place, it's like you're just seeing it for the first time. You taste something, it's like you're tasting it for the first time. So there's no boredom. There's no sense of past, present, and future. There's eternal presence. That's the physics of it, as you would say. That's the spiritual physics. The laws of nature in the spiritual world are different than the material world, therefore you can't understand them from here. Sometimes devotees go into just issues and controversies about the fall of the jiva, when, how, where, this and that. But you can't understand those things from here. So you can hear about it, and if you're hearing about it from a person who's experienced it, and to the extent that they've experienced it, the realization you'll get of it from that sound will be proportionate. So when Krishna speaks it, and you hear it from Krishna, or you hear from a person who heard it from Krishna, and you hear the same thing without it being changed, that's Guru. Person who has agreed to repeat what he's heard from Krishna without changing it, without screwing out some meaning, some clever way of saying it so that he becomes looked upon as being something or another, for his own aggrandizement or whatever. From that person you won't be able to get the same taste, the same realization. That's why I've kind of dedicated my life just to reading Prabhupada's books out loud, because I'm so sure that that's what it is and that's what it'll give you. Because I was in his presence, and when he said something, you just got it. Of course, again, that depends on our receptivity. Some people sit there and they don't get it. That's not partiality in the Lord. That's our individual qualification based on what we've done and what our nature is and what modes of nature are around us, and therefore what we want. I don't want to understand, don't want to hear. Then you can't hear. Krishna says, okay, apavanam cha, sarvasya chaham, ridita navisto. I reside in the hearts of every living being. And jnana, smritim jnana pavanam cha. I'm the source of knowledge, I'm the source of remembrance, and I'm the source of forgetfulness. So if you want to just fool around and you don't want to be with Krishna, Krishna says, okay, here, take this. And then he disappears. He's there, but he just doesn't manifest himself. So that's the cause of the other subject we're talking about, not the external activity. Somebody's doing something external, maybe wonderful, but then they may be doing it for themselves. You can't see it. And Krishna said, well, okay, he wants to be a guy. Okay, let him be a big guy for a while. And then he says, but is he actually coming to me or is it for him? Like sometimes when we're nouveau devotees, we'll get a taste. It's like a really special taste we get when we first come to Krishna. You get such relief from the material energy. You taste prasad for the first time. It's whoa, it's like a whole new life's experience. And then over time, familiarity breeds contempt, and we get a little lax in our thing. And then Krishna says, okay, are you doing this for me or for you? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, what's the real deal? And then if it's for him, then you'll get, okay, and you'll take away that taste until the person corrects himself, and then he'll come back and give the taste again. The holy name does that also. So it's not the activity, it's the consciousness by which you're doing that activity that results in Krishna's, pleasure, displeasure, or his willingness or desire to reciprocate with you in some way or another. Yes, sir.
I especially like the part about that maybe you didn't touch it on yet, but the Krishna's not vengeful. He doesn't feel this or the prayers, because if you're praying to him, you're wanting something. Oh, can you please give me, make me rich, or neither affects him.
That's right.
Only the devotional service is what he is taking pleasure from.
Samoham sarvabhuteshu. You're saying, you just said a verse in the Gita. You see, you're advancing. Samoham sarvabhuteshu na me dveshasti na priya mam bhakti tamam vyakt. My what is that? Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktam maite tishuchapyaham. I envy no one, I'm equal to no one. I'm not a friend, I'm not an enemy. But one who approaches me in devotion is a friend to me, and I'm a friend to him, and therefore it's natural. Very powerful. Therefore, our prayer should be, for one thing, for devotional service, for pure love. For pure love, pure devotional service. And then when we're fixed in that, then Krishna says, oh, all right. And then he reveals himself and gives it to us. But it has to be very intense, because the material energy is very powerful. Very powerful.
Rati's got a few questions or comments on here.
Who?
Rati Manjari.
Okay, Rati.
Dear Srila Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. As I was hearing tonight's reading, it struck me of how vehemently, enthusiastically, and dexterously Srila Prabhupada is putting forward Sri Krishna's glorious and impeccable position, being equal to everyone, and even delivering demons like Shishupal and Putana. He has such deep faith and personal experience of Lord Krishna that he can explain and glorify the Lord in innumerable ways and prove his righteous and untouchable position from every angle. Yet in the same breath, Srila Prabhupada is cautioning us not to fall into the trap of approaching Krishna in a demonic mentality, lest we would go to hell. He is acting wonderfully, as the Lord's adoring devotee and his representative as well. Very impressive. And she commented again. Also,
yes, because, if you want to love somebody, then more deeply you know them. To that extent you can love them. So Krishna comes here to this material world and he exhibits the power, the potency, the love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's unfathomable. It is so deep. So it's our duty as conditioned souls, if we want to go back to the spiritual world, to increase our desire to be with Krishna, to increase our desire to follow. It has to be very strong, especially in this material world, because there's so much contamination here in the material world. So to increase that desire, we have to keep hearing about Krishna and keep chanting Hare Krishna no matter what. Namaparada. I chanted this the other day. Namaparada yuktanam namameva yagamaham. That the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantras, even for offenders, it's meant for them also. Because the only thing that's powerful enough to rectify offenses done to the holy name is the holy name itself, himself. Therefore, if you continue to chant, no matter what else you're doing, then eventually you will, by Krishna's grace, you will become purified by association with Krishna. And then you'll become eligible. You can't go actually back to the spiritual world unless you're completely purified.
She had another comment.
Is Rati Manjari? Okay.
Also, when I heard Srila Prabhupada speaking about how one can recognize the stature of a devotee by his devotional activities, and one should not be envious of a devotee, I was wondering whether Srila Prabhupada was referring indirectly to his own success in spreading Krishna consciousness. Would you please comment on that?
Absolutely. That's my comment. Therefore, there are levels of meanings in the books that are not accessible to everybody. So when a person's in mundane consciousness and he is just, acquiring information content, then after a time he gets tired of it because the levels of realization are not revealed to him or her. Yayatam mam prapadyeta tang tataiva bhajamyaham. As they approach me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. And that goes all the way to the top. From the very beginning, all the way to the top. We get our form in the spiritual world by the same principle. Yayatam mam prapadyante tang tataiva bhajamyaham. However one approaches Krishna, he reciprocates accordingly, in kind. That's his nature. Yes, you were going to say something, Matthew. Welcome home.
Maharaj, I was wondering, what can we do for associates that don't have that taste and they're not interested in Krishna consciousness? Is there anything we can do other than chant Hare Krishna with them if they're still not
well, the thing you can do is become a pure devotee yourself. Because if you become a pure devotee yourself, then your association will be more powerful. Because it isn't, they need to be attracted by Krishna, and to the extent that you're Krishna conscious, they'll be attracted or purified. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to come and join just because you're a pure devotee, because they also have their imperfections and their, qualifications, as it was saying in the purports. So what you can do, it depends on the person. There's no blanket you can pixie dust, go around flowing pixie dust everywhere. That's only in the cartoons. Okay? Thank you very much. 6 o'clock, there's a program in the temple, and we'll stop here so give a chance to everybody to go to the program. Thank you very much, everybody. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Yeah. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari. Shukadev Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow is Monday, so we'll be here at 6:30 in Central Time, USA. Hare Krishna.